As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Last Fantasy, we have our Canadian Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Last Fantasy, we have our South Korean Terran player, the red Terran representing Shopify. It is ByuN. A map that was featured earlier in the tournaments between ByuN and Eba, but not on this channel. It was featured elsewhere. It was game 2 between ByuN and Eba, but now we're featuring it here between ByuN and Trigger, and we'll see who can claim the win. If you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is Gamba time. Predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck. Best of luck in the chat, as predictions are now open for this best of 5, not best of 3. Let's go. Now, welcome one and all to Last Fantasy. Last Fantasy is a very unique map, and what is unique about it? I mean, a lot, to be fair. Shout out to the tuna, by the way. Beautiful. But this is a 3-player spawn map. You can spawn in bottom left, bottom right, or top center. 3 possible spawn locations. Trigger, he will scout on the right-hand side, and Trigger, he will find ByuN immediately. So Trigger does find him, ByuN does open up economically. Single gas opener. Single gas out of ByuN, going for a racks into expansion. Trigger does poke in. Trigger, he doesn't quite scout though. I mean, he confirms his opponent. He's in position to delay the expansion, and there it is. He does force the expansion a little bit off center. Does force it off center here, and he confirms it is an economic opener. So nice start for Trigger. Confirms the economic opener, and also delays it. With that Trigger, he can pull away. ByuN, meanwhile, is in the dark as to the positioning of his opponent. Now, something that can help when it comes to scouting is that if you go for a cross-spawn scout, there are speed zones. There are speed zones all over. Gee, look at this. We just litter the map with speed zones in the center. This is to make it easier to Reaper scout, or just scout in general, from corner to corner. Diagonally, I mean. So you can scout a little bit faster. This does assist with scouting, and also with mid-game movement as well. So we'll see how this does come into play. Likewise, there also, do you see these massive red fences? I mean, we're fenced in. Because of this area here, you can't get there. You cannot get past these otherwise air blockers. That's what they're called. Air blockers here do surround the map, which means there's less dead space, and the map is actually smaller than usual. So less dead space here behind the natural, behind the main base, and drop play is less accessible as a result. So we are pinned in. Feels air blocker, man. ByuN found out the hard way when he was playing against Eba. He did lose his drops, trying to, or actually drops, I think drops were maybe on Banshees, as he was trying to dip in and out between bases. Was caught. Speaking of drop play, ByuN does go and open up Wintermine drop. Wintermine drop open out of ByuN. Hellion does dive in, and the Hellion, I believe, does he scout? He does not. Or he does. Sorry. He does scout, he does get eyes on the tech. He is aware of the blink-based opener from Trigger. It's going to be blink. He's aware. Likewise, ByuN across the map is setting up, getting to his own 1-1-1, followed by additional Raxes. Wintermine drop is on the way, does confirm the third Nexus, as Trigger did open up 2-gate blink into a third. Very greedy build here by Trigger. We saw this from Cristiano. Trigger doing the same. Oh no! Ooh, as he does pull the boys, does pull away, and will save all of his workers. Oh no! Not again! Remember, there are those air blockers, and ByuN, he has to be careful. Has to be careful. Respect the air blockers, as he almost gets caught out. Hi. Even here. As you cannot traverse to the corners of the map. Don't try. As you can get stuck. Last Trigger, he does pin back that medevac. Again, there's a bit of a learning curve, as you can, with a lot of these maps, there's a learning curve. I'm sure ByuN is not too used to this map as well. I'm sure no one is, actually. Trigger moving out. And the goal here for Trigger should just be to contain. To contain the Terran player for as long as he can. And ByuN is just building up towards his stim, towards his eventual move out. So he does poke out. What is this wall? Ah, no. I mean, this reminds me of, there's a... For those of you that have seen Love, Death, and Robots, there's an episode kind of like this where, as you can see, you have like this lush area in the center. I mean, I guess that's what it means, Lost Fantasy. You have like this lush area in the center, like it's all green, and then there's like desolate wasteland outside of the kind of air blockers, almost like it's like kind of like protecting like the apocalypse from like encroaching upon this area. But there's still like a battle waging within it anyway. But I'm pretty sure that's like the idea here. It's like desolate wasteland outside, but we're pinned in, and this is where there's life. There's speed zones, Terran, there's Protoss. Soon only gonna be one. Only one. Trigger moving out with its own prism. ByuN waiting for his upgrade. Stim is about to finish now. ByuN can break out. And it's on Trigger to slow this down. To keep eyes on this. Does make away. Trigger goes for his drop. Let's go for the drop so far. ByuN is keeping up. No major losses yet. Likewise, let's catch out a medevac. Medevac goes down. Nice pick off. Very nice pick off. Yes, Marines are getting picked away at. Cells they catch reinforcements. Marauder goes down. 2 SCVs. Oof. Forcing a bit of friendly fire. And ByuN, he doesn't quite find his way across the map. Yeah, he pulls away. Yeah, it's too late. He was delayed. He has to pull back home. Prism is going to fall to the auto turrets. But alas, Trigger, he does catch ByuN. Does catch him out, does catch him with his pants down. Tanks do fall, Widow Mines as well. Nice catch here from Trigger. And ByuN's in trouble. ByuN is in trouble. Oof. Pistol goes off. ByuN's holding. ByuN, he holds on, but he does miss his timing. Despite having stint, despite having +1. Does miss that timing here that he otherwise would have had. And lost all of his tanks, now he's stuck at home. Stuck at home. Third CC is done, but cannot be landed. ByuN is contained. Oh. Trigger does split off. Does pull away. Does pull away in time. Moving in. And Trigger, he's just containing. Remember, he's on full 3-way saturation. He can now take a 4th as well. Trigger just containing and starving ByuN out. At least that's his goal. Trying to dive in, bidding out those with mine shots. Ooh, mine shots, they go up. Nice splits there from Trigger. He does pull away. He just doesn't have enough. He cannot push in. That's just an overwhelming bio army. Trigger, he respects it. He's like, you know what? I don't have to try to push into this. I'm good. Trigger, he just calmed down. He can pull away. Splits off towards that main. Vikings are ready for this. Prism is zoned out. And Trigger just takes his 4th. Just takes his 4th base. Working towards Storm, +2. Again, there's no rush for Trigger. Trigger, he doesn't have to push into the natural. Containing ByuN is his win condition. Just contain ByuN. As ByuN is finally breaking out and finally expanding. Third base is being taken. Trigger, he pulls away completely, but Storm is ready. Here we go. Storm is ready. This is something that we did not see from Cristiano. Cristiano, he committed to Gateway Army into Robo, into Disruptors. Here, Trigger, he's got his Storms. Does come in. Massive. Oh my god. Brutal connection. Storm pops up. Mine shots here on a handful of Zealots. And here come more Storms. Again, there's what? 5 High Templar. Each with at least 1. Storm in the mineral line. There are some EMPs. True. Has to be careful. Missile goes off. Storm does run away, takes out the Raven. Another Storm here on the Vikings. 100 EMP. Prism goes down. No more Storms. And no Storms remaining. And Trigger, he's running out of steam here. He's running out of Zealots. He has to pull away. Did trade well. Took down 20 SCVs. 20 SCVs go down. ByuN gets punished for expanding. ByuN has to pull away. 20 workers do fall. And Trigger, he reinforces. Now, he did lose his War Prism. Has to be rebuilt. Prism's on the way. Warping in more High Templar. And again, Trigger, he doesn't have to push into the natural. All he has to do is deny the third. Deny the third base over and over again. That's all the Trigger needs to accomplish. Last ByuN expands away from Trigger. You can see Trigger fanning out his Zealots, making sure there's no ninja bases. I mean, again, there's a lot of expansions. So Trigger is scouting, making sure there's no hidden expansions. No CCs. Trigger, he does scout the third. Zealots, they drop into the main. EMPs popping off. High Templar, they have to be so careful against those ghosts, against those EMPs. Does storm the mineral line. And Templar, they don't quite lead the charge. Decent feedbacks, decent trades. Storm zones. Meanwhile, Zealot warping into the main. Yeah, he just pulls ByuN apart. GG gets called, and Trigger, he overwhelms. Trigger takes game number 1. Oh, GG. Trigger does take a lead in the series again. Very intense play. It was so important that Trigger, he was able to stop the first push. Remember, ByuN, he built up towards the stim timing, towards the tank move out across the map. And remember, ByuN, he lost those tanks. He lost those tanks instantly as he tried to move out. Bled out 2 tanks. As he moved out, Zealot Rambai or Zealot Drop came in, distracting ByuN, pulling him apart. And ByuN, his first push kind of fell on its face. And after that moment, Trigger, he maintained map control, took his third, took his fourth, got into Storm. And Trigger just never allowed ByuN to expand and get his third. Not freely, at least. With that, GG well played. Very aggressive style there by Trigger. Very much so in the face of ByuN. And that leads us here into game number 2. And this has been ByuN's go-to. Every time that ByuN loses a game, what do we see? Killer's Smile. We saw this against Eba, we saw this against Christiana, and now we're seeing this against Trigger. As a reminder, for this tournament, it's loser's pick. And every single game, ByuN, clearly, he likes this map, is going for Killer's Smile. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Killer's Smile, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Shopify Rebellion. It is ByuN. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Canadian Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. Can BCs warp in there? If you're referring to outside of the boundaries of the air blockers, the answer is no. Nothing can traverse there. Not even like BCs teleporting out. You're locked in. Cannot break out of that. Here we go. So do settle into our next game. Oh, I see non-stop A move in the chats. If you want to cry about balance, cry somewhere else. As ByuN has been winning quite a lot of TvPs already tonight, so watch yourself, Pat. You watch yourself. Cry somewhere else. So now we're jumping into our next game. So far, ByuN going for, once again, an economic opener. As a reminder, last game, ByuN did go for a Rax Expand. Once again, same opener. Same opener out of ByuN. Now, one of the reasons why we see ByuN picking Killer's Smile time and time again is this does favor aggression. The rush distance by ground is quite short. Likewise, the third base and the natural are a little bit more accessible. Specifically, I'm referring to the third. The reasoning for this is because to get up and actually engage with the third base, the ramp leading into it is here in the center of the map. Likewise, there's no defensive ramp, there's no choke point either. So we could see a lot more success out of ByuN aggressively on a map like Killer's Smile. And we've seen it time and time again against Eba and against Christiana. Again, this is ByuN's go-to so far. Oh, speaking of, ByuN is going to be opening up with a Marauder. Now, the goal here, as we saw previously in today's broadcast, is to hunt down and to catch the first gateway units. If Trigger were to try to move out with a Stalker or with an Adept, then the Marauder is built, Cast a Shell as well, to punish that. Meanwhile, I'm a little bit shocked, not a Twilight Council, Stargate. So it's going to be a Stargate opener out of Trigger. Nice arguments. That last... Okay. If you keep crying, we'll just ban you. It's fine. Not gonna get baited in. Not gonna get baited in. It's fine. For now, though, we have our move outs. As we can see, Trigger, he didn't actually push with his first gateway unit, whether it's Adept or Stalker, he actually stays back home. So ByuN is going to be more assertive with our initial units instead. So he does move out. Does move out. Reaper into the middle line. Ooh, gets one probe already. Not bad. Takes down a worker. Likewise, gets a full scout, gets eyes on the Stargate. Marauders towards that natural. No safety shield battery. Uh-oh. But there is the Oracle, and the Oracle will focus us down. Now, unfortunately, the Oracle has to spend its money, or spend its energy, back at home to defend. And we'll clean up those Marauders, but at the cost of 3 probes. 3 workers go down. Not a bad trade here by ByuN. Back at home, though, can he survive? Can he defend? Because here comes the counterattack. Now, instantly, ByuN needed to start his Cyclone production. Cyclone is on the way in the main. Likewise, building up his bio. Bunker at the natural. ByuN is building up. But alas, the Cyclone is not quite ready so far. Gets a Marine. Bunker isn't ready either. And he will focus on those Marines just barely. Yeah, Marines are falling one after the other, but the Cyclone has arrived. With that Cyclone, we can force back the Oracle. Despite that, nice counter damage with the scan. Can he get it? He can. Whew. Oracle does fall. Nice pick off there by ByuN. And we trade 3 and 3. 3 probes for 3 SCVs. Of course, ByuN did lose 2 Marauders, and that was, I would say, a bit of a more expensive loss there from ByuN. From here, our players back off, and Trigger can get his expansion. Now, as we can calm things down, as we can take our breath here, Trigger is getting to 3 bases, and he is switching out of Stargate play into Blink Stalkers. Now, because of this, he is vulnerable. There is a window in time where he doesn't really have much of a mobile army. The reasoning for this is because he's not opening up Phoenix. So there's no Phoenixes. Twilight Council is late. Blink is late because of the Stargate. So there is a window in time here that ByuN can abuse. Meanwhile, across the map, ByuN, he's just building up his own bio army, working towards Stim. We have Stim, we have combat shields, building up his tank can as well. Settling in. We go. Players are building up towards that mid game. Likewise, ByuN once again going for a very heavy Marauder based composition. Building up his Marauders. Likewise, ByuN, he doesn't get baited into making additional Cyclones either, or rushing into a starport. Just very heavy Marauder into tank. No fear for Phoenixes. And Trigger, he has to ideally slow down this army. Does at least spot it. Wants that Cyclone. Yeah, the boys are being pulled. ByuN committing here to a 2-base all-in. The boys have arrived. And Trigger is setting up, getting a second shield battery. Warping in more Zealots. ByuN is moving in. And Trigger has to buy more time for another warp in. And can he pull this off? Tanks are sieged. Ooh. Yeah, massive tank shot goes off. Nice catch here on the bio. Forces ByuN back. Getting a Marauder. Marauder. Bunker's being thrown down. ByuN trying to commit. Is barely out of range of the side defense. But he's pushing in. Gets within range. And cannons are falling. Charge is not yet done. We have to... It's still a ways off. Yeah, still no charge. ByuN pushes in. Trigger is in trouble here. He needs 10 more seconds. Trying to set us around. Tank's getting within range. Charge now complete. But is it too late? Because ByuN, he walls up. He walls up. He walls up. Zealots are trying to trickle in. But ByuN may just have too much here. Likewise, catching reinforcements, not bad. Next is getting low. And Trigger, he has to commit. Does charge forward, that's a lot of zealots. Gets a first tank, he gets one, he gets two. And he's gonna barely get all three. Yeah, 3 tanks gonna be going down. Nice kiting here by ByuN, but there might just be too many zealots. Yeah, no repairs, SCVs did fall, and Trigger, he will shut this down. And Trigger, more importantly, saves the third. He saves the third base, cleans up the main army, and Trigger, he holds. Whew, oh my god. A very patient play there by Trigger. Cleaned up the bunkers, the tanks, the SCVs, saves the expansion. And back at home, ByuN, he's in trouble. He had no follow-up. He has no third TC. He just now starting 2 more Maxes. There was no follow-up. ByuN, he's stuck at home, and Trigger can take a 4th. From here, he can just take another expansion, get a 4th base, build up towards a greater economy, get into splash damage. Hey. It's Trigger, he weathered the storm. Let's go. Does weather the storm. Likewise, Oracle into the main. Gets one, gets 2 SCVs. Oh. It's a couple of SCVs, and again, ByuN, he just has no follow-up. What's important here, he didn't just throw down 2 more Maxes, he throws down another 2. So he's setting up to, what, a 7-rack setup. He's getting ready for a second 2-base all-in. Like, we are not macroing from here, we're not expanding, we're not getting a 3rd base. ByuN is getting ready for wave number 2. He's getting ready for round 2. And if Trigger was too greedy, he'd be in trouble, but Trigger didn't get a 4th. He didn't get a 4th base. Trigger, he didn't take a risk. He wasn't too greedy. The boys are being pulled. Let's go once again. The boys are being pulled in for the 2nd round. Trigger with mass zealots. Do we go for the base trade? we might end up in a weird base trade here. This I'm less certain of. Trigger, he pulls back. Does have a recall. ByuN, he does catch Trigger out of position. Trigger is completely out of position. The second all-in has arrived. This time the base will fall. Zelda coming from hand. The tanks are exposed. The tanks! The ByuN army, it's on the wrong side. Tanks are going down one after the other. And Trigger, he's going to shut this down. The tanks, they fall immediately. They're the first to go down. See, really, Trigger, he was exactly where he needed to be. GG gets called, and Trigger, he will take a 2-0 lead. Whew, GG. I was worried that Trigger was out of position, he was out in the center of the map, but really, because he came in from behind, he got the tanks. He got the tanks for free. The Marines, the Marauders, the SCVs, they were on the wrong side of the tanks. They were on the opposite side of the army. And with that, the tanks were the first to fall. With that, Trigger takes a 2-0 lead. Let's go. Let's go. Trigger needs one more game to claim the series to be our champion. Now, it is going to be ByuN's map of choice. Now, when it comes to Killer's Mile, we expected aggression. I wasn't expecting a 2-base all-in, but that's what we got. We got a 2-base all-in out of ByuN. What map do we embrace this time? Where are we dropping? Where are we dropping? Are there any maps we haven't seen yet today? Let's actually double check here. Ooh, we've seen this map once. ByuN's map of choice, we are loading into Pylon. Okay. I haven't seen Tokamak. Yeah, Tokamak is the one map that we haven't seen yet today. We've seen every other map at least once. At least once so far. We go. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner here of Pylon, we have our South Korean Terran player. We have our red Terran representing Shopify. Down in the series, by the way, down 2-0. The pressure's on. He has to fight back here and now to have a chance in this series to make a series out of this. It is ByuN. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Canadian Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. We go. go. As we are going to be settling into this. So far, we have our initial openers. And I'll be honest, we actually haven't casted too much on this map. We had the one PvP earlier. Overall, this is a bit of a larger map. It's a larger map in the map pool, very wide map as well. Oh, I appreciate the effects. Do appreciate the effects here. But we'll see how our players do approach this. On a bit of a larger map, I do feel like aggression is going to be a little bit less favored here, so I do actually like Trigger's position coming into this. Do appreciate his position. Once again, ByuN going for a single gas opener, going for the CC on the low ground. This time he will land it on location. This time he won't have to lift, won't have to reposition. So far, so good. And we'll see how Trigger mixes it up. I mean, so far this series, we've seen a couple of different openers. We've seen a Stargate opener into Oracle. We've seen 2-gate Blink into a faster third base. On a larger map, I'm leaning towards 2-gate Blink. I mean, that is a little bit more viable here. We'll keep an eye on Trigger. We'll keep an eye on it. Trigger been playing real good lately. Same with Hero. Hero on fire. Even when he does Hero things, he still wins. Yeah, I mean, that's Hero. That's always Hero. He likes it when you go into his wall and when there's nothing to defend. Because he defends. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's the Hero. Yeah, Hero's been doing well. I mean, we've been singing the praises of Trigger for quite some time. Trigger, he, of course, has been in Korea for... God, how long has it been? 8 months? I feel like we're coming up on like 10 months, right? It's been a while. I think he went to Korea in June, like June, July-ish of last year. So he's been there for quite some time. So yeah, Trigger, he's been improving a lot. Skillus as well, right? We were talking about how Skillus, he's defeated ByuN and Cure recently. Of course, Skillus, he didn't quite make it through Trigger in the PvP. But I'm sure if Skillus was up against ByuN, he'd also be putting on a good show as well, as he has in the past. A lot of success. But more importantly, I'm happy to see our players kind of like indulge in some of these maps. We've seen some maps become a little bit more popular, whether it's like Killer's Mile, whether it is... what other map am I thinking of? Sandworm, that's it. Sandworm as well. Of course, we're only featuring 8 TLMC maps this week. Next week, we're going to be featuring the other 8 maps. As he left his code out. Behind this, ByuN going for a bit of an old school build here, going at 3cc, 3 racks. Okay. So, if you've been watching ByuN, you would know that this is a build that was very popular last season, back on Site Delta. Site Delta, ByuN would almost exclusively do this build on this map. Site Delta, one of the larger maps in its time, in its previous map pool. This is a very greedy build, and this does hit like a truck in the mid-game. Basically, what's happening here is that we're able to afford a faster third base, we're able to cut corners, staying on a low gas count, getting into a stim timing early on. Now, ByuN, he can hit this timing quite well, but he doesn't have to commit to it. He can back off and build up towards a faster third base and skyrocket ahead in the mid game. Right now, I would say the pressure is on Trigger to try to punish this build of ByuN. And we'll see if he can, as he opens up 3-gate Blink. 3-gate Blink into a third base. I would say a very middle of the road build here from Trigger. He can be aggressive with it, and he is. He's going to be pushing out, and we'll see what Trigger can get done. Now, because of the 3 racks, no tanks. 0 tanks to defend, but a heavy biocannon instead with early stim. As Trigger, he has yet to really confirm the build. Does reinforce. He can dive on that bunker. Stim is done in 3 seconds. Oh, if he blinks in, then Stim can be activated. Does push forward. Blinking back, takes out the bunker. Bunker does fall. The mass bio is revealed. And you can see Trigger being very careful here, holding onto that blink. Oh, does pull away. Prism. Oh, he's going to be shut down. A nice catch here by ByuN. Oh, takes down the Prism and shuts down the Stalkers. With that, ByuN holds. ByuN does hold. ByuN is so far he's getting away with the expansion. Takes down a couple of Stalkers. He's had a couple of Stalkers, soon taking his own third. For now, at least Trigger, he is maintaining map control somewhat. He's at least containing ByuN, picked off all the Marines, claiming his third. Behind this, working towards charge, +1. Now, when it comes to the power of this fast third CC, it isn't really shown until the mid-game. We have to wait until ByuN can actually land his third base, claim it, and saturate. Once he does, then ByuN, or the Terran player, will take a lead, supply-wise, in the mid-game. As long as he can land that third. But now, though, ByuN settling in. We have a massive gateway explosion from Trigger, going up to 7 more gates, getting up to 10. Jesus. 10 gateways for Trigger. I'm used to seeing Protoss players go into +1 and charge into Colossus, but Trigger, he's just going mass zealot. It's crazy. Staying on the lower gas counts, does build up the Immortal. Third base now being taken here for ByuN. But I would imagine Trigger, he wants to be aggressive. He wants to try to knock this down. Gets eyes on the third. Trigger knows. Going for the Dark Shrine. Ooh, Observer gets spotted. Oh no! The second Observer does pull away. Does pull away in time. Does pull back. ByuN pushing forward. Catching out a couple of Zealots. Nice little pick-up here for ByuN. Force field will slow him down. Locks down part of the army. Better trade here for Trigger. It does catch him out. Celtic coming from behind, and ByuN, he overextended. Did overextend. Bleeds out his Marines, his Marauders. ByuN is in trouble. And Trigger, he can reinforce. Remember, he has 10 gates. And ByuN, he pulls away. He has to pull the boys. And Trigger, he's going for the kill. Does charge in. Catches out the Fire, the Marauders, the SCVs. And ByuN, he's bleeding out too much. Bleeding out far too much, and he will lose the third. Third base is forfeit. ByuN is stuck on 2 bases. Trigger expanding forward here to the center of the map. Let's go. Very interesting 4th base is what I will say. Very interesting. Trigger pokes in. Again, ByuN is being starved out. He needs to expand. He needs that third. But it's not happening. It's just not happening here. I'm gonna go caught out in the center. I mean, that's how deadly these bridges can be. As his army was cut in half. And again, that's one of those things where, you know, you learn as you play out the map a little bit more, as you get used to it. Use some of those locations. Trigger taking the high yield Vespene Gas Geyser. ByuN claiming his third. Brings him into the main. Going for the massive warp in. The warp in will complete. And ideally, this does distract ByuN. And Trigger, he's going for the third. He's going for the kill. He dives forward, collapses on the Marauders. Up. Might just going up. Decent connections. But Zeltai peel off into the mineral line. They don't quite get too many SCVs though. ByuN, he's holding. He is holding on. Oof. Prism is turned back. Is zoned away. ByuN getting some momentum here. Maintains his third base, building up his bio army. Now, the biggest concern for how Trigger's been playing is that Trigger, he did delay splash damage. Intentionally so. As we mentioned, typically the Protoss player would stay on a lower gateway count and switch into Colossus sooner. Meanwhile, for Trigger, I believe this first Colossus is still, or sorry, second Colossus is on the way. So this Colossus count is still very low, so very limited splash damage for Trigger. Ideally, he did want to end the game sooner, but he didn't. He failed to end the game. And now ByuN, he has, I would say, he's building up a greater army here. So Trigger, he kind of missed his window. Now, thankfully, he has the high yield gas geyser, so he's able to build up his Colossus. Second Robo's on the way. The game will continue. The game will continue from here. Both players are building up. Trigger, he's the first to max. ByuN not too far behind him. DTs that do waddle into the mineral lines. So last series detection. So not too effective. Likewise, disarmament from Trigger still very gateway heavy. Oh, linking forward. Does link forward. Likewise, shuts down some of those Marauders. Also don't quite get into the mineral line. So far, ByuN's holding on. Trigger looking for a way in. Oh, he does get into the mineral line though. Those swipes, they're insane. SVs are going down, and here come more Zealots. He opens up the area. Third Colossus has arrived. Collapse on the main army. And last ByuN, he melts. He cannot fight this head on. Not like this. Not out in the open. Not with the Colossus. Not with 3 of them. And with that, GG gets called. Trigger, he overwhelms. And Trigger, he will take the series 3-0. Becoming this week's Sparkling Tuna Cup champion. GG. GG, well played. It's been a while. Congratulations to Trigger, as he is a previous champion, but I feel like it's been months, if not longer, here since we have seen him claim the win. Congratulations here to Trigger. Actually, my apologies, the last win for Trigger was actually beginning of February, so it's been just over a month here. Again, we've been seeing more wins from ByuN, Ryung, and Skillous as of late, but Trigger, he does wrap it up here in a very strong showing, 3-0. I do feel like some of these maps did play a part, or maybe some of the unfamiliarity with these maps did play its part here in these matches in the series. But GG, well played, Trigger. He will claim it. Oh, and hold on. Yeah, GG, well played. Sorry, I'm just asking Trigger. I'm having a little impromptu interview with Trigger via text, of course. I was asking him if he had any preferences when it came to the new maps, when it came to the new TLMC maps for the time being that we featured here tonight. And Trigger doesn't have too many. He isn't too fond of the healing zone though. If you remember, there's a healing zone on which map is it? There's a healing zone on, was it Persephone? Yeah, on Persephone. And he isn't too fond of the idea of that just because it favors an aggressing player. I do agree that it would favor them. Unfortunately, we didn't actually see it today. Like, we never saw anyone make use of the healing pads or the healing zones. But that is a feature on Persephone. If you recall, ByuN had opportunities but never quite made use of it. I don't think he was aware. Of the healing zones. But yeah, so far, Trigger, he has no other like strong thoughts so far. Actually, you know what? I'll ask ByuN. I'll ask ByuN. Do you have any thoughts on the new maps, Pappy? I'm curious to hear his perspective as well. It's still quite early there. Still quite early. Yeah, ByuN, he's saying that he doesn't know yet because he hasn't played enough. He hasn't played enough on the new maps. Fair. Fair enough. Would you like... Actually, I'll ask both of them. Would you like 3-player maps to come back? Trigger and ByuN. Curious. Curious. Obviously, like, as a pro player, they probably... I would imagine they probably wouldn't want, like, any risk of RNG to be a factor. But, Yeah. So Trigger, he says it seemed fine, but I don't like RNG in the early game. Yeah, that's. I would imagine the pro players would not be fond of a 3-player spawn map because of the RNG factor of it. That makes sense, but at the same time, though, it'd be exciting. And I would say that's a stronger argument for not having 4-player spawn maps. I think we can get away with 3-player spawn maps. There is going to be a sense of RNG, 100%, but I want to believe that's something that the game can sustain and would still benefit the scene. But we'll see. Oh, okay. So Trigger, he says that he doesn't like early game RNG, so he's not too fond of it. He thinks it's okay, but he's not too fond of it. ByuN says that he's in favor of adding 3-player spawn maps. It's good to diversify the aspects. Okay. So a stronger positive stance from ByuN. Meanwhile, Trigger, he's a little bit more lukewarm on the idea. He's like, like it seemed good, but you know, I'm still concerned. Okay. Okay. GG back. Okay, GG, well played. But yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to hear their perspectives. Would 3+ player spawn maps be more acceptable if it was revealed where the opponent spawned? I don't like that because I feel like that gets rid of the point. Like, the people want 3-player spawn maps because they want that RNG aspect. If you reveal where the player is, then what's the point, right? Why not just make like a bigger map? So I think that RNG aspect is something that some players won't enjoy, but it's something that comes with it, and that's what people want, right? Pro players' opinion shouldn't really matter that much. It should be up to the casters, more importantly, the audience. I think you can have a nice balance between the opinions of all the people, right? Like, I think it's not a bad idea to kind of factor all those opinions in when it comes to your overall decision, right? You can have some people against it, but if something like the opinion of like casters or audience members or other factors overwhelm that, then you know you can still go for it anyway, right? I think it's still a good idea to hear from them, to hear from their opinions. Still a good thing. I think you probably would prefer to always know enemy spawn and inspectors want RNG. Yeah, 100%. What I should say is there's always going to be, and there should always be, this tension, this back and forth between pro players wanting the most standard maps possible and casters and content creators and the more entertainment side of things wanting the most diverse maps possible, right? And then you meet in the middle, right? That's the push and pull that we want, right? We want this kind of like to factor into what maps we kind of land on and what we decide on, right? And ideally we meet in the middle. You could argue that for too long, for too many years, it was too much in favor of like the pro players, where the maps were getting a little bit stale and we were getting more and more like standardized maps. I do think there was a period, especially during the COVID era of StarCraft, where that was the case. But it does feel like the needle's being pushed, you know, back towards the center, if not slightly more towards like the more entertainment side of things. But like you always want that tug of war, like you always want that like push and pull sort of stuff, and like, you know, you compromise, right? That's the idea. That's the goal. Well, that's the hope, I should say. If either side wins, the audience ends up losing. Exactly, for sure. You want to end up somewhere in the middle. And like that compromise would be like, oh, like in a 9 map pool, maybe you have like 3 standard maps, you have like a couple of quirky maps, maybe like 1 or 2 crazy maps. Like you want that diversity in a map pool, right? We'd have 3-player spawns and 6 worker starts. I'm still on the fence when it comes to changing up the worker counts. I don't know if that fixes the issue that we currently have, but I haven't seen enough of like the early worker count games to really know whether or not like it actually like diversifies the early game enough. I haven't seen enough to like have a strong stance on that. will get systematically downvoted by the pros. But that's why it's important to hear, and it's really nice to hear that, oh, ByuN, he's for 3-player maps. Like, he understands that it's important to have like a diverse map pool. That's nice. It is nice. I prefer restoring the bases to full minerals over 6 worker start instead of half the patches being halved. Makes 1 to 2 base play way more viable, IMO. Sure. I mean, there's some pros and cons to it. Like, I personally just haven't seen enough to have like a strong stance either way. But regardless, GG, well played. Congratulations here to Trigger for becoming this week's champion. And again, you know, when it comes to our back and forth here, Trigger, he has been improving so much over time. But of course, the X factor is the fact that we are featuring some new maps, and we will continue to feature them next week as well. This week we featured 8 maps in this tournament map pool, but there are 16 in total. Like, mate, there are 8 other maps we haven't even seen in Sparkling Tuna Cup, and that is going to be the case next week. So we have split the map pool in half, 8 this week, the other 8 next week. That's the current plan for the next 2 weeks. Voting for TLMC still has not opened up. It's still not open. It's still not yet open to the public. Just as a heads up. Just as a reminder. But they will open up soon. So be aware of that. Be aware of that, of the Team Liquid map contest. Again, if you're in the chat, you will have a vote. You'll have a say with what maps you want to see, with what maps you enjoyed watching, and what maps you want in the map pool. Personally, I still haven't seen it enough. I still am very keen on voting for Lost Fantasy. I'm tempted to go for Sandworm as well. But again, I've seen like maybe a handful of games on each map, and I'm looking forward to casting and watching more of these maps over the next 2 weeks. Likewise, this week we also have some more StarCraft coming up ahead of us. Switching our things over, let's catch up. Let us catch up. Bam, here we go. We have our weekly schedule here, and of course we are going to be live with the Wardy TV Monday. That is going to be later on tomorrow, but in an hour, in like 50 minutes time, there is the Euthermal 2v2 tournament. Euthermal's 2v2 tournament is in 50 minutes, and we won't be casting it. We are going to be adminning though. We do work behind the scenes on Euthermal's tournaments, so that is going to be at least what we're up to in the next hour. We won't be casting ourselves. Of course, that's going to be casted by Steadfast and by Euthermal. They're both going to be streaming their POVs. We'll be casting it via replays. So we're going to be live at some point this week with the replay cast of that 2v2 event. Otherwise, you can watch it live over on Euthermal and Steadfast's channel. And again, we won't be we're going to be working behind the scenes, just adminning, making sure everything runs smoothly, and making sure that everything goes as planned. It's typically a big bracket pack. It's a big bracket. So that's our plan here for the next hour. I should say, starting in the next hour. It's typically like a 5-6 hour event. So we're going to be all over that. Likewise, tomorrow is the Wardy TV Monday. Likewise, we also have on Tuesday is going to be the Pigastore Monday. We have Code for Giants Cup. Tenacious Total Tussle is this Thursday. And fun fact, during that event, we will also feature the Team Liquid map contest maps. So we're going to be featuring these maps as often as we can to give you as much information as you can before you vote, right? Again, it is public voting for who you want to kind of place first, second, third, fourth for your rankings of the Team Liquid map contest maps. Is public voting. So again, everyone's vote counts. Everyone's vote does count. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. We're going to be seeing you next time here on the Cranky Ducklings. Otherwise, stick around. We're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid. Who is live at the moment? Who can we send everyone over to? Where are we dropping?
Defensivas y ofensivas.
Oh, I see. We've been giving some love to Enki recently. I'm tempted to raid Enki. Enki is casting Clem versus Max. He's also covering the Wardy TLMC event. Who else? Who else is live? We'll find someone to raid. So give them some love, give them some support. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time for some more StarCraft. See you soon, Bobby. See you soon. See you next time. Ciao.